So Mr. Putt Putman from Spring Hill, Lumberjack.
That's right.
The Lumberjacks. So I was driving through there the other day. They consolidated all those schools.
Correct.
Yeah. So now it's just Webster High School or
North Webster Knights.
North Webster Knights. Yeah. When I was my dad was a pastor, and so we spent a couple years in my elementary years in Haynesville.
Okay.
And so they were always big in football, and man, what a town.
Yeah.
I drove through there the other day. I'm like, there is nothing.
Right.
I went to Shongaloo Elementary, and it's I don't know what it is now.
That's right.
They shut it down too. It was a K through 12.
They
when I went there.
consolidated.
Man, that was back in the day. That principal, Mr. Thrash, just pulled you out of the classroom and spanked you in the hall so everybody could hear you.
Was that Rodney? Rodney Thrash? He just passed.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, his son was
He was a great guy, man.
Yeah.
I used to play golf with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. He scared me. I tell you what, he walked around with that paddle and had that raspy voice.
Did you get pulled out?
I did not get pulled out. But my friends that knew a lick was coming, they would like borrow everybody's wallets and put them in their jack pockets.
We would go
Put
to
their
the
gym
bathroom
shorts.
for toilet paper and like pads.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Put the gym shorts
You get
on.
creative when you know it's coming.
You got to get creative.
He had to know. He had to know.
Yeah.
Oh,
You come out of the bathroom looking like J-Lo. It's like...
I do remember the first day of school. My mom was teaching school, so I went there in the 4th and 5th grade. She was my 4th grade school teacher at that school. We drive in the first day, and God, what is his name? There was this kid who was in the 5th grade who lived right across the street from the school. And he is standing in the front yard smoking a cigarette, watching everybody pull in. And I'm like, wow.
That's what's up.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah, smoking a cigarette.
I had a friend that used to drive to junior high.
Oh.
And he's one of the most successful guys from there.
That is hilarious.
To this day.
That's
and he's
hilarious.
got a thriving business.
Yeah.
He was 19 and a half in
Wasn't that
7th
old,
grade.
but he drove his Jeep to junior high, straight up.
Well, I didn't know
I'm
this.
sure he'll watch this too. So.
Well, I didn't know this, but
That's my boy.
apparently back in the day, I don't know if they do it now, but some states would give like a hardship driver's license if like your parents couldn't. So like my friend Jamie, she started driving at 14 because her mom couldn't drive. And I'm like, that is just insane. So
So humble beginnings.
Oh yeah, Spring Hill for sure. And but I love growing up there because I have so many lifelong friends. We still get together, and my high school friends, we still go to the Lake Erlin up there once a year. We just put the dates for this year, 1st of June. So, but yeah.
what? So you were there. When did you move away from Spring Hill? What was your first?
So Sarah and I I went to SAU. Well, I went to BIPC and then Monticello and then SAU. And then we graduated in May of 23 and got married the next week and then moved to Dallas. So that was in 03.
Okay, and you moved to Dallas. That was your first stop.
Correct.
Spring Hill to Dallas.
Spring Hill to
How
Dallas.
was that?
That was the first time I knew depression. Oh, seriously.
Yeah.
It was like a concrete jungle. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why I was sitting by the window staring.
Yeah.
But because it was just such a culture shock.
Yeah.
And even my dad would jokingly say he'd bring me a bucket of dirt when he'd come out there, But
what was the purpose of going to Dallas?
we just wanted something different. And Sarah seemed to, she was sales support for IBM. We had a friend that was running the life sciences out there, and so she got a job. I couldn't seem to get plugged in. I worked for Walgreens, and I did that for 2 years, and then I was just thinking, I grew up in janitorial and carpet cleaning, and I didn't realize how much I liked it until I was doing something else. And so then I started cleaning carpet out there with Dowworth. And then they had the restoration, and then Katrina hit. We were in contract to clean carpet there, but that's how I was introduced.
Yeah.
And then soon after that, my brother-in-law passed. And when we moved back to help raise my nephew, that's when
You started
carpet cleaning here, and then it turned into restoration.
We were, me and
Which
my
I
wife
did
got
restoration originally.
We got married in 04 and moved to Dallas, so we were there at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, so funny.
I had no idea.
Well, I joke about it too.
So where did y'all live?
We moved to Fort Worth because I was going to grad school, and she started her teaching career
Okay.
in White Settlement.
We lived in Addison.
Okay, so then we had moved, so we were pretty far apart because then
Yeah.
we moved 30 minutes south to a town called Cleburne for
Yeah, I
about
know
a
where
year
that's
and a
at.
half. But yeah, so it's funny because we joke now is like we were there and literally did nothing. We didn't have any money. We didn't even know like what good food was.
We were so broke. We were so broke that for $50 you could get a pass all year to Six Flags.
Oh, yeah.
And so we would that's all we could do. Oh, seriously.
Awesome. So we knew
And then I realized that I hated the rides, but I still did them because I didn't have anything else.
We loved we knew the discounts at all the restaurants there, so we would go to Rose's Cafe for like 2 for $2 taco night or something, But yes, and now we go back there to have fun. But we're like, we wasted 2 years, doing nothing fun.
See, my son lives in Southern California trying to live out his jiu-jitsu dream.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go out there to visit him, he knows all the places to eat with the different discounts. And I mean, he's got it figured out because it's so expensive just to survive out there.
Yeah. It's like the first time I went to Vegas, I think the last 2 days we were eating that one casino that had 99-cent hot dogs. I think that's where we went.
That's called Costco. You were in Costco. That's not a casino.
Well, that was before they had Uber too. So like you were stuck on the strip, it's like we were just on the strip. We were trying to find something cheap to eat.
Right.
I remember we went, it was actually Jason and Tracy, decided to go get married there, but it was a quick wedding. So like 2 school teachers, we didn't have money saved up to go to Vegas. Right. And our payment hit while we were there. We're like, thank goodness, we're running low on funds. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Vegas. You've been to Vegas?
I have.
Yeah?
Yeah, we did it as a touring band. So my stories are after hours as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, So you go to Dallas. You grew up around the restoration type stuff.
No, it was more just like commercial cleaning and residential carpet cleaning is all I really knew. Okay. I really didn't even know what restoration was until Dalworth in Dallas.
That's when you picked up and the Katrina hit.
Yeah, and then so Dalworth had carpet cleaning, supplies, and restoration. So Rob, who just recently passed, he had the PCCS, which was the supplies. So he was telling me what was going on at Katrina and how you rented equipment and different things like that. So when I moved back, that's when I started restoration. Although I had to do carpet cleaning and everything else, mowing, whatever, because this class I took from Chuck DeWald to where drying in place, everybody thought I was an alien. They either thought water did nothing to drywall or you had to take it out. Mm-hmm. And so when I started drying in place and collecting hundreds of gallons of water in these brute trash cans, everybody thought, what kind of voodoo is this? Because nobody was doing it at the time. And then I was starting it in a town of 4,000.
So you started in Spring Hill. Yeah, and I think that, your story is actually probably best to start with where we're at now, where you just recently in the past 6 months sold your company to a national or a worldwide brand.
The largest.
Yeah, the largest restoration
largest
company.
in the world.
And you built that up. And so for people like me and Josh and all the other local entrepreneurs, we're like, man, Putt, achieved the dream,
Yeah, this is Busy Smalls Champions Edition.
Yeah. So because I think that put that in perspective, right? Because now we're rewinding back to 20 years ago when you were starting this or somewhere around there, and having to start your business and literally do everything. Like you couldn't just support a company on cleaning carpets for a town of 4,000 people. Right. So you're mowing grass, you're just meeting
I had
needs.
a van and credit card debt and a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so you were a one-man show, obviously just kind of finding work. Where did this idea of scaling come from or expanding? Like how did you get to that place?
Yeah. So with my dad having the cleaning service, it really, he was determined that I went on my own, and my mom and dad had the cleaning service. But like with restoration, they would walk into a building and it would have water or different things. So it really went hand in hand. And that's how I started and built up that way. 12 years, kind of did everything myself with people around me, but I was part of it. And then when I started to scale, I really didn't know how. And that's when I met Jim Mosh. Yep. And then he introduced me to Ever.
Mm-hmm. So for 12 years, you were really
if we were mowing, I was on the mower. If we were weed eating, I was on the weed eater. Now I may have had people helping me, but I was in it.
Yeah, I mean, working in the business.
In the business.
Yeah, and we talk about that a lot too, right? It's because it's hard when you're spinning your wheels almost working in the business. You don't have time or capacity to work on the business, right?
You don't.
And
but I really love that part of it, and I did it the slow, hard way. But what I was doing was I was in front of every customer, and no matter whether I lost on it or not, they were happy. Mm. And I mean, some of them are impossible, but I tried. That's all I wanted to do. I'm just kind of a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And so then when Ever did help me with scaling, then it took off pretty fast because I didn't realize how much I was saying no. Because like when there would be events or things, well, I was just doing my thing regardless, and I didn't know how to scale, wasn't paying attention, but I was building loyalty with the people I did work for. So then when I did, the opportunity was there.
Yeah, we actually did an episode a couple of weeks ago. Josh had heard this interview with Warren Buffett, and his number one piece of advice to business owners was your main focus is to delight your customer, and everything else will fall into
Everything
place.
else will fall into place.
Yeah. So we did an episode just kind of talk about that. And now I'm looking at that lens and trying to, instill that to my guys. So what year was this when you got into coaching? When you say Ever, that's just a business. He's a business coach.
So it's, I would say that was 17 or 18.
Yeah. And we're huge on coaching. I know I have outside consultants. I have a business coach. I have consultants for different companies because, a coach really is just shining the light on areas where you can improve. Yeah. Right? That's what they're doing. And
But how are the consultants working out for you?
Here's where I have some consulting is because I don't know some of the businesses I'm in. I'm not a master in those businesses. I just know how to own and operate businesses. So whenever I'm thinking of am I paying this position what everybody else that I'm competing with paying, or am I charging for this service what everybody else is charging?
Right.
So that's what the consultants kind of help because, they're doing the same thing for 1,000 companies.
Yeah.
And
it brings you to speed with a learning curve that you don't have.
Well, no, because I would probably go out of business figuring it out.
Right. You don't have 20 years to learn how to charge.
And I didn't grow up, I grew up as a preacher's kid, so I didn't grow up in business, Right. And so that's really my consulting is really, and there is a time where it stops, So like when we started the roofing company, we had a consultant for about a year and a half, and it was just asking questions, and we avoided a lot of mistakes. I remember early on, I was like, oh, we got to start doing gutters too, And he's like, no. And now I'm thinking back, I'm like, that was a great idea not to do gutters. That would have been horrible, right? And so
well, I was always looking for somebody to come save. One person could save my whole business. So I would put that whole faith in somebody, and really consultants have strengths and weaknesses just like we do.
Sure.
But sometimes when you put faith in, then they want to be that person, but then they're turning around and asking my other friends, oh yeah, we can do that. Now, how did you do this, Ben?
Yeah.
But, and I just talked to this guy that I'm talking about night before last, because they're having the RIA in Florida right now, or restoration, but I'm not traveling like I used to because I don't have to, but I think I'm going to do one next year. But what Bill was telling me was, I actually helped him as much as he helped me. But what was so cool about Bill is, and he was from Chicago, is wherever he didn't do what we needed to do, or if something was different or whatever, then we went on the road together, and he got us $3 million worth of work that we wouldn't have got anywhere else. So whatever it was, that made it right.
So when you say somebody to come save your business, what was the biggest hurdles, or what was missing?
So that time, because another friend, Jeff Cooley, is local, but he always consulted and did great too, and we still talk and work together. But for that time, it was there was several topics, but the biggest one was paying my people right and paying them percentages. But then we still couldn't figure it out. Right. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm with Belfor, they've got it figured out.
Oh, yeah.
But then I would, if I couldn't figure it out right, then I would back pay them. I would always try to do something, I wanted to make sure I took care of my people first.
And that's a tricky one. In fact, we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, about you just having some turnover, right, for paying, because it's hard, right? Because like I'm trying to hire some position now, and then they're like, and I'm like, all right, we got an hourly rate or a salary down, and then they're like, oh, what about benefits? And I'm like, well, I really don't provide benefits. I'm too small to provide benefits, And so then you have to navigate those.
Yeah, I mean, figuring out where you are in the market is one of the most important things. Are you competitive within your industry, or are you competitive locally, like with your other employers in Spring Hill or wherever, right? Like you got to make sure that you're in a good sweet spot with that. But that can be really, really difficult to suss out. And once you figure out that you're on the wrong side of it, it's too late, right? The person's gone.
Yeah.
I remember when this was probably in 2019, a family member of mine worked for Facebook. And we happened to be up in San Francisco. So I hit him up and said, hey, let us tour the thing. He's like, well, they normally don't let people just tour Facebook, but we'll get you in. And so we got to go on campus of Facebook, which was really cool to go to. But he said when they opened up their facility, they have this open cafeteria. You just eat for free. You're an employee. You can eat any meal, anytime.
Did you get a meal?
I did get a meal. It was very strange. But they said that all of the restaurants lost their chefs when they opened that campus, because they went and just paid them more money and took all their chefs.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
Wow.
So there you go. You don't want that happening.
Right.
But do you provide chefs?
Dude, these guys had
the road.
Right.
Bro, these guys had you bring your dry cleaning. They don't want you to leave.
Yeah.
So you bring your dry cleaning.
They'll watch your dog.
They had a bike shop. So you ride your bike to work and they'll fix it for you while you're there. They'll do your cleaning for you. They had it was crazy. Each little building had its own. Also had its own kitchen with a cereal bar in it and stuff. I mean, it was amazing. I was like, this is really coul.
Yeah.
So
those margins must be good. We were talking about that earlier.
You
can do that when you got good margins.
When you somewhat of a monopoly too.
That's testifying in front of Congress margins, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. So you're focusing on, you had some consulting. So really around this 2017, 2018 is where you're really about to explode your company, right?
Right. And so we've decided, that we want to get involved with hurricanes. And I've been trying to get in. So I'm moisture mapped in 16 or 17, whenever Hurricane Michael was, and maybe 18, with SRP, a local environmental company here. But I was always wanting to get on the road mitigation, but that's where I saw the descants and all that stuff for the first time, and tried to pursue Southern Cat, and they with the Coalition of Disaster Responders, and they weren't, I guess, interested, or I didn't know. So anyway, but I was trying to figure it out. So 2 years later, I get a call from somebody that was in our CEO group that ever did the state funded thing, and she had a condo down there and needed some work, and I didn't have license. And then I talked to my buddy Rick Laird, and he was like, well, you ought to just throw Southern Cat a bone. So I did. I called Nathan Brooks and said, hey, I've got this job for you. He's like, well, okay, good, man. I'll give you a commission. I was like, no, I just want a relationship. He's like, all right, well, we'll meet someday. I said, sweet. How about Tuesday? So we drove down, met him, and then we were in. And so that was 2020. That was right a week before COVID hit, but we still had the coalition meeting in Panama City. So we went, met everybody, and then Lake Charles happened in 2020. Mm-hmm. And even though they didn't get involved, it was our first $1 million job, but we could handle it. but they came and walked our job. And so when they did and loved it, well, then the next month, Sally hit in Florida, and they got us a huge high rise. And so we went from, doing a job 10 times what we've ever done, met all our subs, went through all the hard times on Lake Charles, then took all that and we had to make supply trucks on the fly out of rider trucks. We had
I remember you doing that.
Yeah, we had our supply guy that was following us, like buying us underwear at Walmart. Like we just went down there, didn't have a clue, and just learned on the fly. Then went to Florida and did that one, and that's what really put us on the map. And then the next year we did over 3 million square feet of schools, Lafourche Parish School, and that was the big one that really put our name out there. We brought in 12 companies to help us.
Is that the one where you said
Coalition Southern Cat knocked that one out of the park with us, supported us. And
now when the Lake Charles, that's the one where it just there was no power. It was like a third world country.
Lake Charles was my childhood pastor, Weldon. That's his church. He was in Spring Hill and during my high school days, and so he knew, I let him know that I was down there, and he was like, well, just go walk the church. So Sam and I went and walked it, and there was a little part where the flat roof had ripped off, and we thought it was contained there, maybe 2,500 square feet. And so, then it was raining, and I was trying to get it temped in and extract, and so we did that for like a day, sleeping in trucks. We couldn't sleep in there because the humidity was so high, power's out. All they had was stale can. We didn't have food. It was rough. Yeah. And so anyway, when we get that stabilized like a day later, I said, hey, Sam, take your moisture meter and just go look and make sure nothing else is messed up. So he came back and he told me that the entire church was wet. And I didn't even look at it as it's going to be a big job. My heart dropped for my friend, and so I'm like, really? So we look, and it's made with plaster, and there's that you can see stuff all over this beautiful, like 100-year-old chapel church. Everything is wet. There's roof penetrations and the holes in throughout the building. So then it turns into insurance, we're getting it going. Well, then there's a guy on staff. Well, you've never done a job this big. And then the insurance has a preferred carrier, and they come and walk the place. But then Southern Cat came with me to make sure. And then the preferred carrier, who is a huge competitor, just says, y'all got it. It looks great. And so that's how we kind of got our start.
And they just recently tore that building down. That down there in Lake Charles,
they did. So we were 3 blocks from that one. So my friend from Spring Hill is a logistics manager for the company that got that one, and so he was doing all the board up and everything. And you want to talk about a logistical nightmare?
That was the only that was like the only skyscraper type building there, right? It's just a massive building.
Yeah,
and then my
other friend is the one that demoed it.
Oh, really?
Lloyd. Yeah.
I ask a really dumb question. So this church is wet. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
So Laura was so big, and so the whole church is wet. So if you don't, and no power. So if you don't, and even after a hurricane, even if it's not wet, if you don't stabilize a building like that, it's mold. It'll and when we call it, I know it's probably in technical, but when it turns. Like when all of a sudden, if it sits there for a week or two and mold is everywhere, then it is a completely different animal. Now you have to, it went from mitigation to abatement, mold abatement. So, which is a big deal.
Much more costly. More, yeah.
So like same with the schools. So we color coded them. So if there was no damage, it was green, but you still had to go stabilize it with a generator and a desiccant so it wouldn't turn. Then the yellow is somewhat damaged, so you had to repair that, and then the red was major damage. So they were doing the green first so you could stabilize it so it wouldn't turn into anything. Then the yellow, and we've got all these different companies and different approaches. But one of the red ones was one of the major ones, and it turned by the time. And man, you're talking like 150,000 square foot school. They need to get people back in there. It's a major.
And you're kind of taking a risk too, because so like the insurance company will say, "Hey, act quick because we don't want to have to pay for the expensive stuff." But then you're just hoping they come through and pay.
Well, sure. And some do and some don't. And
some go bankrupt, right? I mean, I know that some of that, it's funny. I was talking to an insurance guy the other day because we have insurance companies pulling out of Louisiana.
Right.
And then some of them go bankrupt. Then they'll pop back up and write a bunch of policies and then go bankrupt at the next hurricane.
Right.
He told me that Katrina wiped out 40 years of profits from the insurance companies in that one storm.
I believe it.
Isn't that crazy? 40 years of profits wiped away.
Yeah.
Crazy. So then, but that's a whole nother animal is the insurance game, right?
Oh,
it's having to deal with that.
It is.
So yeah, do you start to like get to know people at these main carriers?
Oh, for sure. And then, and the adjusters, and that's why you always just want to do the right thing for so many reasons. But that's another reason why I'm kind of glad I got acquired, because now I have a team that can help us with this ever changing. And it's getting to where, you got to, the big companies are the ones that can sustain, because it's so volatile. And new competition and
floating cash flow. That's
cash flow. Basically, that was what it evolved in my role was basically I was the bank. And when you're a bank with no money and you got a banker that you grew up with, and we're going off of AR, and you go to a storm and okay, so here's the work I signed. So then you got 45 days to up your line of credit, but then people want to get paid every week and different things. It's a lot of, and that's what Mark actually asked me because Mark, my now boss, he doesn't like for me to say he's my boss, but he technically is. But that was his main question when he came in and saw our new office now and all that. He's like, how did you get the money? How did you figure? And I said, man, there's a lot of prayer. It was. Yeah. And a lot of relationships and things
because
I would like to say it was planned out, but it wasn't.
Well, because you said, one of the big pivotal moments for you was to quit saying no.
Right.
So now you're saying yes to everything.
Right.
But you have no clue how you're about to fund it.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So, a lot of stress.
And overall, Mark Fowler was the prime on that job at the school, and he gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. He always shrugs it off, but you're looking over a $40 million project.
Yeah.
So
you told
total.
You had told me, and I can't remember correct, but you said you went from in 1 year you went from like 5 million to 10 million in volume.
No, so I did like $1 million for 12 years, and then we started doubling.
Yeah.
When Ever got here, we started doubling, and then we went from 5 to 40.
So one year, 5 to 40.
Yeah, just stepped off in the black hole, and then
and that's
5
when you
to 40.
Yeah. Yeah, and then and then back to 7. Yeah. And then it's just so volatile. And so then no matter how, if you have to go down as fast or faster than you went up, and I wasn't good at that. I mean, you had to scale way up and way back, and
you just listen, 5 to 40, number one, there's probably not many individuals in Shreveport-Bossier that could share that story in any business, whatever it is. Yep. But I think my appreciation for what you're talking about is going from 5 to 40. We talked about your banker. We talked about your cash flow. To grow that fast is such an enormous cash flow problem.
Right.
And the stress of sitting in between that and going, okay, so I've got to fund all this growth, and that money's probably not exactly in your pocket at that moment, right? Right. The stress of that has got to be crazy.
And then when you're doing a job that big, people expect the impossible, which they should when it comes with that kind of money. So all I can say is, I had a great partner on that one.
Yeah.
With Southern Cat and all the companies that helped me, but I'll say, and Jennifer is one of the owners, and Jason, but Jennifer was there with me in the ditch, never left. We were in a school parking lot for 108 days in campers. We were basically a carnival crew without the scrambler. We had the distro, the generators, everything. And that wasn't the only stressor, but she helped with that, and they were used to it. So then by the time it comes for me to settle up with them, well, then we have a first draw. Thank you, Jesus. And my little line of credit that I'm bowing up, acting like I'm gonna go in halves with them on this. But man, I was bluffing. You know how they wear the sunglasses
and it always and it always hits at the right time too, doesn't it?
Well, it did, and it's timing with everything too. Like, so I look back at my vision and how we did it, and I'm like, that's after we did it. I'm saying that's impossible.
Yeah.
Timing, and so
let's start talking about acquiring. When did that kind of start the process in your head of
so when we went to Lake Charles, Mark saw our vehicle there, and he called me, and I remember the spot he called me at when I was in Monroe. I pulled over, and he's like, I'm with Belfor, and that was just a privilege, and I wasn't even entertaining selling, but I knew I wanted a relationship with him. And so we started a relationship and became friends. And, after about 2 years, he's like, what are you doing? Just sell. Like, what? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. But then as we keep growing and as we start doing the local day-to-day stuff to try to keep feeding this monster that we've created, because bigger monsters like bigger cookies. And then we don't have the back end to support it. And then the real stress comes in, right? And then we get nicer things. We go from, we get a semi-trailer to when we're doing the school to now we have 7 full of equipment. Now we have this big overhead machine and it's so stressful to keep going. And we do, you bring in consultants to try to get that back office, but still it's almost impossible. So then I tell my wife about a year and a half ago, I'm like, I can't keep going. Like I'm gonna die. So my body starts deteriorating. I've got herniated disc. We're just drinking water out of a fire hydrant for Chris and I both, for 4 years. And I'm looking at us, and we're starting to just, you could see it. You could see us aging with your eyes, And so, I'm keeping this relationship with Mark, and then actually Dalworth, where I got my start, they sold like 2 years ago to Fleet. And so then Josh is coming, hey man, this is full circle family. We need, and then so they start my wheels spinning on that. Well, then when I go to market, those are the main 2, but then I get a broker. And so I talk to 6 or 7 total, have dinner with everybody. And as I'm having dinner with everybody and talking to other people who are acquired by other companies, I know that it's going to be those 2. And I'm not even kind of pretending to myself. Yeah. And then one of them, the one I didn't go with, had a bind freeze at the time because of integration. And so it was just, and then one of them that I was talking to that I had some sort of relationship with, they got real serious and was trying to beat Belfor out. So
now, and part of your agreement, you're still with the company, you're running it. Right,
I am. I have a 6-year earnout, which I'm happy for, because and that when they first told me that that's the way it would be structured, I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, I just want all the money. Like, I don't want to do an earnout. And she was like, oh, why? She was like, don't think you're going to come home and drive me and you crazy. Like, this is your purpose. You got to keep doing it.
Go back to Walgreens.
Yeah. I did go back to Walgreens last year and sit in front of that store in Richardson, Texas, and just stare for like 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're there for 6 years, with your commitment for 6 years. And part of this, you've expanded your services, right?
We have.
Where y'all were just doing the mitigation side.
And they're full service. We're full service.
Yeah. And so how's that transition been? Is that like a learning curve? I guess you have a lot of resources because of the...
Well, we do, but Chris, he's the general manager. And that's his background, his construction. And what's so full circle is him and I still own the facility, and he owns half of it, and he actually built it on the crew he was on with Thompson.
That's cool.
So that's cool. But no, he's done so much construction and over the years with Thompson and others. So it's just a switch we have to flip. My only thing is, I've had relationships with GCs because they would call us for the mitigation and then we would get them for the rebuild. So it's kind of but everybody has been supportive of it, and then we should be able to support them on their niches even more because we'll get to have the work. So.
So you recently came back from a mission trip?
We did.
Yeah.
So one thing that I love to do is go to Honduras and drill water wells. And so this was my 8th one. But last year we were supposed to go in February, Chris and I, and we had a little bit of a freeze event, a few, probably 40 jobs. And so we were supposed to go in February and couldn't. So we ended up going in April, and we went with this group. The fire chief was part of it, and then Justin, who's our pastor at the Symbol Church, is also the Bossier City chaplain. So we go down there, and Chris goes with me for the first time last year. Wonderful time, and we go visit a fire department because we have the chief of the fire department here in Bossier City, and he sees that they have nothing, and he starts thinking in his mind, man, the stuff that we throw away it could change their life. And so after 10 years in the U.S., the bunker gear expires, and their protocol is to put razor blades through it and put it in the trash. And so Bossier City stepped up with the mayor, Tommy, and with the city attorney, Charles, and other people there, and Brad, because once Brad saw this, he told the fire department down there he was going to bring some stuff. And when you say something, you have to do it. So he comes back, and you can't give it to other fire departments in the U.S. because of liability reasons, but you can give it to another country if you do the right paperwork and all that. And it's a pain, but they got it done. So fast forward to this year.
This is usable equipment, right? I mean, it's not.
Some of it's slightly used, some of it's, but I mean, compared to what they have, when you say somebody's trash is another man's treasure, I mean, it changed. So fast forward, they ship a whole Connex full of gear down there. And so after we did our water well for 3 days, then the next 2 days, we're delivering fire gear to 7 different fire departments in northern Honduras. And it's everything from the chiefs taking their hat off to putting it on his head, ripping off their badges and giving it to them. I mean, I'm getting chill bumps just talking about it. And we're passing out this gear, and then like sometimes we'd pull out in the bus and they would have it on, taking selfies with it. Then last week they sent us pictures of them lined up with it all on, doing fire drills and actually doing stuff. And it's just, it's cool. Changed the whole dynamic down there, the whole culture, the whole attitude of everybody. And it's just, I am so thankful that I was a part of that.
Is there an opportunity to do that on scale? I mean, I would imagine there are a lot of people that need it.
I really think that he's done something that other chiefs can do.
Yeah.
Because you have needs in Mexico, Guatemala, all the Central American neighbors right there need it. And but I just can't get over the impact it had.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a third generation hoarder, and so to think of them just throwing that stuff away and just discarding, I'm like, what in the world? Like, at least go. Do y'all remember the Army surplus store that used to be?
Oh yeah,
like in Keithville or whatever. Oh yeah, dude, that was the best. Like, why would they have like a you can go buy you a fire helmet?
Yeah.
Right. They also had helmets, hooks, like anything that expired that he could.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I just think on a large scale, I mean, I would imagine, most cities would want to do that with their leftover stuff rather than just cutting it up and throwing it away. And
mayors, like in different cities that we would deliver it to, mayors would show up. Yeah. Like, it was a major, major deal.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's next? What are you excited about? What makes you, what gets you going every day?
I'm excited that I'm not a banker anymore, and that I can actually, I feel a part of our team again, that I can encourage everybody. And then I'm excited about our new church at the Boardwalk, that they just did a major renovation, and I really think that it's going to inspire the new businesses at the Boardwalk. They've already got some coming, and just seeing where people need things, and I'm just trying to maintain an attitude of gratitude, and just I'm so thankful that I don't have the stress I had. I know we worry about different things, but just I feel like I can see you now.
Yeah.
I feel like I can see my people. I can be a part of them. We can go to lunch. We can talk. I have a relationship other than just so stressed out. And it's timing. And it was a great time, and I'm glad I could pass it on. And that's what I would encourage, other business owners too, is, don't just work and then one day say you're gonna, sell it. Or if you ever plan on selling, like, start building relationships now. And then for your industry, they'll all say, well, they don't pay for this or they don't do that. Yes, they will. Good people buy people. They don't buy, Belfor could have bought, and they tell me this, they could get more equipment. They could get another building, but they buy the person, the people, and then the new family and brotherhood that I have now with them, and this GM group that we have that we're going to meet next week with is just, man, it's just so special.
Yeah.
So, I got a question for you. You've done this amazing thing. You built this thing out of your garage, basically, to, these huge heights, and you've sold it and done very well, and you should be absolutely commended for it. I wonder, the day will come where your next chapter will flip over, and you may ride off into the sunset, or you may do something else. But my question is, do you worry that, you have so much identity in this that you'll be lost?
Absolutely. I've already been there. And so that's why I was just talking about gratitude, is like, because now my cash flow isn't what it used to be. And then there's always those dynamics. But man, I've been so blessed, and the stars have aligned so much, and God has had so much favor on me that I've got to focus on. Now I'm focusing on His kingdom, on what I can do, just like passing out fire gear, just like drilling water wells, just like washing kids' feet and giving them bicycles and stuff. And so when I focus on those things, then all the worry and stress comes from selfish, my cash flow's down. What I sold is already diminishing. Dude, who cares? Like, I'm more worried about a legacy of giving and thankful for what's happened, and how can I change our community in small ways. You can't save the world or do it all, but you actually can by just doing one little small thing and then trying to make it multiply. Like, one of my favorite things to do locally is just go to laundromats and pay for people's laundry with no strings attached. And it is amazing what people will do. And like, we'll say, well, when the money runs out, it's out, but we'll have a couple $100s worth of quarters. And then they'll go and get their sheets that they haven't washed, or now I can buy my kids new shoes, or it's just, and that's what I've got to focus on, because we can get so caught up in personal things, or, cars, which I love, but I also feel like sometimes I serve with those just because people love them. It reminds them of either their dad or what they had, and they smile, and for 30 seconds, they don't worry about the world stuff, and we're talking about cars. And so I've had that, but that's a slippery slope too, But no, I just want to focus on how we can serve, and I'm not perfect with that, but and two, like, stressing about this was my baby and selling it. And I know when I landed in Detroit to go sign, it's as the wheels touched I've got my aunt, who was my controller for 20 years, and Chris, who has sacrificed his whole being to they're with me, right? And as we simultaneously land, tears just start rolling, because it's, am I doing the right thing, whatever. But then as we get to closing, and I'm so nervous, and then I don't realize we have to speak at the dinner, but I just realized that we had gained a new family. And, another cool thing was I'm so unorthodox. I'm so not textbook on anything. And so Sheldon, who is the CEO of Belfor and had the most success in restoration, he flew down personally because he's like, now what? Like, who's this guy? What does he do? Like, in Shreveport? Like, what? So he flew down personally, and we meet for 2 hours, and that's just the kind of people they are. And then I told Mark, I'm like, I kind of felt like the Godfather came in and, like, gave his blessing. So Mark tells Sheldon I said that. He loves it. So then we have, like, a Godfather theme. We go to eat at this Mario's place in Detroit, and they put us in the middle, give us gifts, and then tell their experience and love on us of why they bought us and what the research they've done and it's just so special. And that doesn't happen a lot. Yeah. And so to the fact that we just connected with a family that we never knew is mind blowing to me. Yeah. And the things they promised and all that, they've done even more. And so it's just, I'm just so thankful and so grateful for that.
It was an awesome story. And to see you, because I remember you calling me hustling up business 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to hustle it now because I got to earn out. Yeah. I'm going to hustle it out even more now. But
it's just cool to see, for somebody just doing it a one-man show.
Well, that's another thing too, right? Spring Hill rumors, because everybody, I grew up and I'm still an hour and still involved there, and then here as well, because this is a small town. But Putt's on an island somewhere, got this exorbitant amount of money, and that's not true. So, but it was a blessing. But we're definitely still open for business.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is a great story because part of this podcast exists for the idea of there's people in this community making a difference, and the problems in this community are huge, right? Like
they are.
You said it. You can't fix everything. We can't fix everything, but I think that through stories like this and through your participation in the community, buying, somebody's laundry, something like that is a great example for everybody listening to say, we can't fix every problem, but look what we can do.
Yeah. Right.
And that's what I loved about what you just said there, and your legacy moving forward being about something greater and a legacy of giving. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you. Part of this move, kind of makes you a local company again. Right.
And we're not traveling anymore.
Yeah, because you were traveling, and so like your home base was here, but the majority of your business was being done in other states or other places, and now it's like you're back in the region.
Now I'm more local than ever, and like Belfor. So Sheldon has the Heart of Heroes show, but they do so special and innovative things for first responders. And so we're able to support them now more than ever. Like they have First Responder Day. We go feed them. And so all these ideas that are simple, yet things we didn't do, and now we are. And the way they, give back to the community and just, the way I was able to just even simply tithe, it came from, you think, well, it's corporate now, not local, but it helps the local economy more than I could have.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if Sheldon wants to buy a roofing company, plumbing company, just tell him.
So my dad says the same thing.
Hardware. Does he want a hardware company?
The janitorial company.
Yeah. Package a deal up.
Keith Sally says if he needs a fabrication business.
Right. All right. Well, we got to do our sponsorships.
Yes, sir.
And so Priority Roofing is one of our sponsors this season. They're locally owned, family ran business specializing in residential and commercial roofing, repairs, replacements. No job is too small. Great people. Shay.
They do fine work.
Yeah, Shay. Yeah. Shay's a great guy. Y'all went and did some kind of nonprofit something. Was that with you and Jackie or something. Y'all went to
Yes.
the roof.
Yeah, they did a roof. That was during our huge project in South Louisiana.
Yeah. Shay still.
And then
talks about that.
then Chris is also. We've worked together. Do fine work.
Yep. Good people. Plumber for Hire, locally owned plumbing company, residential, commercial plumbing. They recently bought a jetter, so they're excited about that. We've been offering jetting services. It's a pretty cool machine. Nice. So, hard to find apparently. So anyways, give them a call, 318-709-9090. And then of course, Clint Davis Counseling, helping people make lasting internal change for external growth and success. I think they have a Shreveport, Bossier, and now a new office in Benton. Call 318-562-6903.
That's my guy too.
Oh yeah, Clint's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we kind of grew our businesses together.
Oh yeah. No, when I go in because I see him about twice a month, but we kind of share this bond of being business owners. You know, and they have the same frustrations.
Oh, for sure.
He's like, well, I'm glad you came here with this problem because I have the same problem.
Yeah. And great D&D player, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So Ivy's Building Materials, 3 locations, family owned since 1969, started by Mac Ivy, my maternal grandfather. Home center, pro lumber yard format, so you can come in and get plumbing, paint, electrical tools, lawn and garden. But we can also help you if you need to build a house, if you need to replace a roof, if you need to replace your exterior siding. We're now installing flooring. Very soon, we'll be installing water heaters with a certain plumbing company that you may be familiar with.
Nice.
And we're just growing. We're looking for new pockets to get in and try. So Ivy Building Materials, come by and see us.
Cool. Also have to mention this. We had Howard Davis on at Providence, and one of Carter's classmates, I got to give a shout out to him, Noah Smith, because he told Carter, he said, hey, I listened to the Howard Davis episode, but I've been listening to all of them. I really like the business stuff. So there you go. Future employee. Right? Future employee.
Seeds.
Yeah, there you go.
Future entrepreneur.
Hey, business partner.
There you go.
Or maybe he can buy us out.
That's right. There you go.
That's right.
All right, Noah.
Start saving, Noah.
Noah, don't let us down.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, Putt.
All right.